And now it's my pleasure to introduce our panelist for today's broadcast, Daphne Williams. Daph is a Senior Director of Advisory Services and leads the APAC Advisory Service at Radius. Fluent in French, Daph works with businesses expanding into Australia and other Asia-Pacific nations. Prior to joining Radius, Daph worked for PwC and Arthur Andersen in London, Paris, and Sydney, working on international mobility solutions for multinational companies and their employees. Over to you, Daph.
Today we'll be looking at the Asia-Pacific region, some common themes across the region, specifically a few countries there as well, with aspects that organizations operating in the region need to be aware of right now, and also with an eye on 2015 and the years ahead. We'll finish up with some question and answers. So Ed, next slide please. So just a very quick look at the region. People have very different definitions of Asia Pacific. Some would include North America and the Pacific Rim as well. At Radius we see Asia Pacific as this specific region, including India. So we'll move on to the next slide please, Ed. It's a pretty well-known fact, I think, that Asia-Pacific continues economically to be one of the fastest growing regions in the world, even with the recent years of economic repression, depression, recession, whatever we call it. Asia-Pacific now is operating across the region at about 6 to 7% GDP growth. Some countries more than others. Of course, clearly a large influence there with China's economic growth, which again has gone a little bit off the boil, but then off the boil in China clearly it's still very, very impressive growth relative to most of the rest of the world. So this month in the region, Asia Pacific, has been a very busy economic month, full of summits. I've listed the three primary ones there. It kicked off in China with the Asia Pacific Economic Forum, followed within days in Myanmar by the East Asia Summit, and then at the end of that week here in Australia the G20 Summit met in Brisbane. So there have been a rash of world leaders across the region. I think President Obama took up residence in the region for pretty much the whole week and a half. Other aspects that have been making the economic news in Asia Pacific this month, clearly again China and America announced their bilateral emissions agreement, very important for many, many different reasons. And then most recently, just at the beginning of this week, Australia and China announced the signing of a free trade agreement between those two countries. That's quite important for Australia, for the region. For Australia, clearly, it's the third free trade agreement they've signed this year, one with Korea, one with Japan, and now one with China, and are negotiating with India as well. So Australia very much positioning itself for access into all of those very, very important markets for Australia, but presenting opportunities for international organizations to also position themselves, establish companies in Australia, and take advantage of those tariff-free and other economic advantages under those free trade agreements. Just thought I would show the audience that what we call the top 6 Radius in the Asia-Pacific region. This is where we see the most interest, the most activity by our clients in the region. And clearly China heads that. This is not in any order of priority, but China is by far and away the most popular destination country for economic activity by our clients. But India clearly very important there as well. Hong Kong and China combined, this is an interesting fact, there's about $160 billion of foreign direct investment coming out of China and Hong Kong together. That's money going into the rest of the world, into North America, into Europe. So those two centers, not just the destination of foreign organizations and their and their economic activity, but equally the generator of economic activity globally as well. Apart from the top 6, though, this is what I sometimes refer to as Division 2 in no pejorative manner. It's the next tier of countries where our clients are operating. Again, no order of priority, but pretty much most countries across that map of Asia Pacific we started with, where we are supporting clients in their commercial operations, in their not-for-profit operations, exporting, importing, developing, in all of these countries. I think the only country really where we haven't yet advised any client is North Korea. No surprises there really.